Now, you may have noticed that I have been raving about the need to have a transonic performance. Now, it's very, you can sit down and calculate it, but even then your calculations can be challenged and all that. So, I took out a direct example, between a subsonic fighter and a supersonic. And mind you, when I talk about a supersonic, I'm only comparing a Mach 1.3 thing, not a Mach 1.6, which gets worse, of course. Now, it's very difficult to select a direct comparison in a real world. Why? Because you see, if you compare the MiG 17 with the MiG 19, the engine technology is changed, centrifugal versus axial. The armament has changed. The similar with between the Mystia and the Super Mystia. But fortunately, and I think this is the only real world comparison, it is between the Sabre F-86H. Now note, it's not the popular F-86F, it's a slightly more powerful Sabre, F-86H, and the North American F-100 Super Sabre. These are identical in armament, 4 into 20 mm cannon in the clean condition. Because we are after talking about stealth and no external loads are being discussed. Now, what is the difference? Well, firstly, the supersonic fighter requires 70% more power than the marginally subsonic fighter, which the 86H was good for 0.95 and the Super Sabre was 1.3. Now, you need 70% more power. The length of the aircraft goes up by almost 40%, so it's a bigger target, it's more this thing and so on and so forth. And the weight, empty weight, which is finally what you're going to buy, is 1.4 times the empty weight for carrying the same weapons load. Yes, the Super Sabre could carry more bombs and all that, but remember we are talking about a stealth fighter, which cannot carry things externally. So, this is the kind of things that means for India, you need much less power. I mean, the Kaveri with a little bit of tinkering might do. I will quickly run through this, the stealth of shape and size. Looking to the past for solutions, superstitions, shop talks, old wives' tales, and history. You must start on a substantial foundation of this, otherwise, your effort is doomed. Fortunately, of course, enough material is available on these things. But this is the stealth of shape. Mind you, you don't need fly-by-wire or anything like that. I will discuss them later in another occasion, but I'm giving you where I am going to head. This is a slightly easier design to handle, the Liffish type flying wing, the Swiss EW20. That's an excellent thing to as a start. Again, it's a flying wing, but if you look at those little black slots on the trailing edge, it had a sort of blowing arrangement, which meant this aeroplane had a remarkably short takeoff run in cold and high conditions of Switzerland. And I think the takeoff run was around 450 meters or something remarkable. And another thing, which again I'll discuss at another occasion, if you look on the other one, I don't know if you can see it, but make out, it had an internal bomb bay, which has tickled me enormously. Now again, this is a design that we should really carefully study. What I say is you look at something, think, then walk around, then think a little bit again and have another look. Now, this is the conventional layout, and I have deliberately chosen the Boeing XF-32. People, of course, they say it's the ugliest fighter in the world, but it's really a beauty. It's really a beauty. It's got acres of real estate, or where you can plant all your sensors. It is a very carefully thought engine exhaust system. Of course, the Americans, they to everything they will add V-stall and spoil it, but we don't need it. And if you really study this design, it gives you a good starting point. As I said, I'll later. This is the menu of research for the platform. I mean, there will be also research into stealth radars and data processing. I'm not going in that. I'm going into what the platform requires. The aerodynamics of tailless layout, both the hot end type and the Lippisch type. As I said, it's not very difficult. May take 6 months to a year of building actual scale models or free flight prototypes, radio controlled, whatever, and they do that. Mesh type graded inlets for the underslung MiG 29, because we have a problem in engines and we are hostage in the engine situation, we should be able to change the design. And the MiG 29 underslung nacelle is a very good way of changing engines. If someone gets stuff with us, we can change the engine. Yes, it will mean a lot of work, but we won't be in a hole. And the well, I think this F-117 we need to do work on icing and all that, but there it is. The RCS of proposed layouts, obviously, I don't think very much has been done so far. The weapons then, the bay design, how do you eject the stores and so on and so forth, target acquisition. The gaming of a typical intercept, I think that should be very good. We are good at making these games. What is the radar? They say the size of a steel ball. Well, what kind of a steel ball, size of a lemon or the size of a melon? So that is the kind of thing you need. And multi-engine sequential operation. If you remember, I had said that size is important. So what is like the Navy, they had a trick of switching off some of the engines and extending endurance, the fleet air arm people of various navies. So perhaps we can have a look at that with modern computers shutting down engines and so on and so forth, because the jet engine at part throttle is pretty inefficient. And can we save some fuel by having only one engine operating at optimum condition instead of three at half jet, The engine situation. Now, weapons design is political. People will not let you get onto the stage. So only the HTFE 25 and the GTRE are the preferred engines, as they are. Jet engines are end-to-end design. 80% transfer of technology means that there's a weak link of 20%, and that is hogwash. A chain is as strong as its weakest link. And as I said, I can go on that, but you got the point. That was worrying me. The present dry ratings of the engines, used singly or in pairs or threes, is just about sufficient to provide a viable sniper aircraft. Development of a simple arm afterburner, not fully variable and all that, because under hot and high conditions you have to get off the ground, and I'm looking at a simple afterburner to sort of as a ratto rather than to be used in combat. If you can, okay, fine. It is expected, that's what I expect, that once Godrej starts manufacturing the Kaveri, we'll see a small improvement in the dry thrust, 3 to 7 kilonewtons. And the afterburner problems which are plaguing us is probably due to bad manufacturing and assembly. All the fluctuations is blowing the flame away. I mean, you would be surprised how often things like this do the thing. And the HTFE we should give it priority because it's excellent for the small engine. It's excellent for the hot and flying wing type. Now, how do we go about it? Obviously, again, it's just my ideas or rather discussion points. First advice is forget all about the past, particularly the bad experience we've had. That is almost a swindle in all but name. The current command structure of development allows a small import lobby to punch well above its weights. See, Raisina and DRDO does not suffer if the design is not produced. Whereas everywhere else, everyone pushes hard so that the design is produced, for God's sake. Assemble the elephant. What has happened is that no single person, not even me, can design an aeroplane. So, what you have to do is all get together and assemble the elephant. Hold a Soviet conference. Soviet, I'm using an inverted commas because that is what, Watson Watt, the man who got that British radar system up on time, he used this word that everyone concerned, ministry, the IAF, private industry, experts, PSUs, labs, academia, they should all get together and speak as equals. That is important. And if they are coming as, they must come as individuals and not as a party line. That IF comes and they shoot the line dictated by the air marshal. And what do I mean by a Soviet? That means I don't know who actually sits in front of the radar screen. But suppose it's an ERC or whatever, an LCA, LSC who sits in front of the radar screen and he says, sir, I've been able to pick up Canberra's at 280 kilometer. You can't say, what does he know? After all, he's a bloody LSC. No. You have to listen to him and you can verify what he's saying. But everyone gets an equal vote in the discussion. As I said, you assemble the elephant. One of the reasons our project fails is because there is no putting together. Now the program has to be very carefully monitored, and the leadership should rotate. During the project definition, the leadership should be with the customer. After all, he is officially going to buy it. And then during the design stage, it is the designer and the industry, and so on and so forth. And it shouldn't be that you have MSMEs, that is artisan level. So what are the expected cost and time scales? Well, you think of a number. If you are in a government person in this line, divided by 10. And if you are in the private sector, divided by 3. And that is the amount of money we need. It really, if you go step by step, securing each step before going on, you will be both fast and cheap. My thing is that we need a study and proposals formulation in 2 years and a first flight 3 years thereafter. And as I said, it should cost between 5 and 7,000 crores. Yes, you can also spend 1,40,000 crores like we have done and still not got the results. But it really shouldn't cost very much if you know how to break up the problem and solve them in detail. And then service entry IOC in 7th years. These are industry standard notes, and if you can't do them, then don't get into this, because you are only making you're making an obsolete product or a product overtaken by time. And the cost will be 1/10 of the current expenditure so far, assuming private sector salaries. Now, I'm just giving a teaser for the next presentation. No, it's not something that the cat has bought in. Rather, it is a sketch of the transonic sniper 5th generation. It is, it is a scale sketch, as you can see, so more or less it will look like that. And if you everything is such that yes, the pilot will not have to get on his hands and knees to crawl into it. As I said, it's a scale sketch. It is based on a very careful study of the Su-75 and the Boeing XF-32. There will be, of course, other studies going on, like the Lippisch and the Horten types, their merits, demerits. All that I'll discuss in the next slide, in the next presentation. Then the next few slides are the references. I hope you enjoyed what I have said, and start thinking. You don't have to agree with what I have said, but I'd be very interested in your views if you do it with certain amount of facts, not, oh, my uncle knows this test pilot and he has told this.